Good morning. Good morning. It's another Tuesday morning. Welcoming you to a cup of coffee with Mary May, your leadership strategist. And I hope that before you make any decision today, that you have your coffee or your tea and sometimes a smoothie. So I'm excited to talk to you this Tuesday, this Transformation Tuesday, to as we dive into our nuggets that are prepared for us today. And it's always Transformation Tuesday when you come into a leadership strategist arena, space, or whatever, because it's some decision and it's something that needs to be let go or some awareness awakened that is impacting you in your leadership that requires you to make probably a 2 millimeter shift or a 2 millimeter of awareness like, oh my gosh, I did not know that this was the one little thing that I needed to do differently so that I can stand in my authority. So, I am a leadership strategist and I work with individuals, women specifically in corporate America, who are tired of being passed over, looked over, and wanting to be promoted and well paid or in a position to kind of level up their career in one way, shape, or another. So, CEO may not be your destination, but CEO is the type of mindset, is placing yourself first and kind of positioning yourself in a place where there's no barriers, there's no limits, there's nothing that is holding you back. So I thank you for joining in this conversation with me as we will be talking about our focus nugget for today. That is not what that is supposed to say. Our focus nugget for today is authority and leadership. What is shaping your role as a leader? Like, what is shaping your role as a leader in today's conversation? Like, what is creating how you are as a leader, and who was your first lesson in your leadership journey that you may be shaped and molded and kind of chasing that opportunity, once again, like, okay, well, let me figure this out, let me see who it is that I can kind of shape and mold and prepare this conversation for. So, authority in your leadership, what has shaped your role as a leader? So if you, I appreciate those of you who are joining us live in this conversation. Remember, engagement is always welcome, and that you have the opportunity to, kind of ask questions, say what your thoughts are, what are the things that stand out to you in this conversation. But then you also have the opportunity to, just kind of say, okay, you know what, this set well with me, but I think I should also share it with someone else. Feel free to do that. And also, if because this may hit in your commute time or something else that you're doing in your preparation for the day, and you are catching it on the replay, definitely let me know that you're here, and I'll come back and I'll share some love and answer your questions as well. All right, so let's get to it. Our focus nugget for today is authority in a leadership. What has shaped you and your role as a leader? So when you think about the leadership blueprint that is an option for you to kind of like remove the barriers and the blind spots, what happens is that there are triggers, there are experiences, there are things that we have grown through or experienced in our lives that we don't recognize the residue or how it is that they shape us in our everyday conversation and in our everyday roles and being a leader. And remember, being a leader doesn't necessarily mean having that title, but you're taking management over your emotions, management over your skills and your opportunity, things that you have the wherewithal to do. And so sometimes getting clarity on what it is that you're trying to level up for can have blind spots and barriers. And then that leads into, if you're functioning in the space of not having clarity, then you're not able to position yourself in a space that's going to place you where you would be able to level up or learn what you need to learn and work side by side to kind of pour in the strategy. So when I'm speaking about a blueprint, I'm speaking about what I call the GPS leadership blueprint strategy that kind of it identifies, it punches you, it gets you right to the point of getting clear on what your blind spots are. So then that way you can not only remove those blind spots that allow you to hide behind the curtain, renegotiate what your skill set is, and kind of challenge you in a different way so that you can now have a different perspective, a different way in how you look at life, and being able to level yourself up unapologetically, but in the lane of life that you want to do. So as a leader, when you have your various roles in life, you sometimes encounter, say, like a performance review or a criticism from someone that you care about, where you are often kind of saying, okay, well, is this position for me? This seems like hard work. What is actually happening for me at this particular time? And when you are making changes and you are like growing and leveling and stepping into a space of authority, your change also requires those around you to change. And those around you have valued you where you are. And so they may become the distractions, the deterrents, anything that's going to take you off your path and, kind of give you pushback. And oftentimes we look at pushback as being disrespectful, but sometimes we need to look at pushback as, is there something that I didn't consider? Was I not clear in my intention? And just kind of being able to do that mirror check real quick, just to ensure that your path is clear. Because you have to recognize that when you are making a change that's going to not only have your performance better, have your communication better, have you positioned in a way that you are prepared in the absence of procrastination, you have to do that mirror check, because that mirror check is going to allow you to be able to say, okay, say and see what it is that you need to reshape and do differently. But then it's also going to identify in what ways is life leveling up, doing something different, going to require you to make that change that, where you have to realize, okay, what is it that you will accept? What it is that you won't accept? What is it that triggers you? What informs you to do things differently? Because you can grow with people, you can grow away from certain people, as well as you could grow ahead of individuals who are around you in this leadership journey, in your ways in which you are checking that mirror and saying, okay, I am a leader, I'm standing in my authority, but there's some questions or there's some things that I need to interrogate and understand a little bit better. So when you are growing with people, they're okay with it. But when you grow beyond them or away from them, then it's like you're at your ambition level and higher. Their vibrations are going to try to snatch you down and snatch you away from what it is that you need to do. So when you get laser focused in how it is that you stand, how it is that you live in your space of authority, then you begin to understand what it is that is going to serve you better and what it is that's going to help you lead more effectively in your decision making. So when you think about leadership, or you think about, first of all, when you think about leadership, that word is very, very broad, and it can be very, very intimidating because you may not see yourself as the leader that you are. And that would be the first area to kind of identify and pull back those blind spots so that you can see that each person has poured into their cup a space in which they are the authority, where they are the individual, the catalyst, the person that's the gatekeeper to helping things move from one point to the next so that you can have whatever the outcomes are that you're looking for. So when you look at authority, people sometimes look at the word authority in the same confusing, multi-layered, multi-complicity level of leadership because they're like, well, I don't have authority over them. They have to go to XYZ to ask permission to do this, or they I'm not the one that signs off on this. However, you may not have that power or that right to give the orders, but you are doing something that is activating change. And so when you're standing in your authority, are you able to land and understand that you are solidly making decisions and you are, in a sense, I guess, enforcing obedience or compliance and complicit nature for people to follow through or follow what it is that you are requesting of them? So if you have a conversation in your transformation of understanding how you stand in your authority, that might be a moment to have that the idea of reframing your perspective of what it is around your goal, about your perspective, about how it is you rely on situations, because what is pausing you? What is pausing you and causing you to think about what it is that you're doing, and if you have permission to do such? So when I thought about this particular, came across this conversation about having the authority of the space that you stand in, it comes to a place of, where do you get your first directions, your space, your breathing room of creating a decision? And that's usually in your earlier years, when you are being like molded and shaped into like whatever leadership activities you're doing, decision making, sports, organizations, things in which you are, kind of evolving into who it is that you are becoming. You are learning how to deal with confrontation. You are learning how to deal with things that do not go your way, and how it is that you can renegotiate the terms and have a better understanding on the other side. But with that, you may encounter how it is that somebody is speaking to you today as you are in your leadership role, trying to survive to CEO status, and understanding that this transformation is not an easy walk, and that something that people are saying or doing is reminiscent of an earlier experience. But we don't often equate the younger experiences of when we're being molded into a leader to our current day experiences, because you may be of age where you're like, those things don't matter. Well, let's look at some of the seasoning sauce. Remember, I said we was going to do a mirror check, where, it's time to do mirror checks at different times. So when you think about your current person who oversees your work, um, current person that signs off on the things that you need to do, certain things that they say trigger you. Certain things that they say trigger you, either good or either not so good. And what it is that there's certain things that you have experienced from previous employers, from previous like say contract situations, negotiations, just anything where you are negotiating change agency for a project or something that you are doing. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what situation does this resemble? And why am I really taking on the residue and feeling a different way around the outcomes? What happens is, if you had good shaping, molding, and I shouldn't say good because good is arbitrary, but if you had a foundation when you were growing up where you were involved in different, type of activities, doesn't always have to be a structured activity, but you were able to use your voice, you were able to speak up, and the things that you decided on were considered as well as activated and move forward. If you are a person that never experienced that, then you're still in that same narrative mode of kind of fighting just as you did back then. And unfortunately, when you get triggered, you go back to the toolkit that you developed for yourself back then, when you were silenced and when you were told no, and when you were told that this opportunity wasn't for you. However, when you realize that this individual, this new situation, this new opportunity is not the same as the one it once was at the previous performance review, at the previous employer, from an interaction at the conference table, from whatever previous in that mirror check. You have to be able to stand in your authority and have some wherewithal to say, okay, this is not that, but this is that, because apparently I am responding to the energy in the room. So are you now wearing your mask in that space and hiding in plain sight? And so you have to ask yourself, am I hiding, or am I navigating these same and similar situations from earlier experiences, carrying that weight in? Or am I recognizing, okay, I am projecting and I'm feeling like, I'm being abandoned of my ideas because I'm feeling invisible. But then that is creating that isolation, because then as soon as you get triggered, you shut down. You shut down. The automatic voices in your mind, conversations that goes on in your mind, begins to tell you, well, we told you weren't supposed to have this promotion, or what made you think that you were qualified, or you just need to stay in this position right now. It gives you good benefits. Like, why would you want to grow beyond where it is that we've told you were supposed to be? And then the question I would say, as a leadership strategist, why not? Why am I not able to grow with people, beyond people, ahead of people, and beyond where it is that you have a vision for me? Because your vision is not the authority that has been granted to me with my skill set, with my experience, with my ability to no longer hide in plain sight. So it's like talking and having that opportunity to not be a hidden figure in the workplace, as well as not to be responsive or held captive to that daily divorce of self conversation that is going to negate your thought that something, could be more beneficial to you. So when you're thinking about that situation, you know what your signs are being triggered. Sometimes it's dehydration, it's a headache, tightness of stomach, fatigue, wanting to escape the space that you are in. You would have to identify that you are hiding in plain sight, and you are in need of doing a mirror check that kind of resolves, okay, which voice, which version of me, where is it that I should be moving forward, where my life is not about a competition, it's about collaboration, and understanding that when I'm leveling up as a leader, I'm going to take risk. I'm going to take risks that are very, very challenging. But in this window of opportunity, I'm going beyond status quo. And I'm choosing me, and I'm choosing to take on anything around that in that shape of how I am formed, to not allow the person who oversees my work resemble anybody else in my life who has resembled my work. If it is your parents or your guardians who raised you, if they constantly put limitations on you, didn't allow your voice to be seen, then you have to begin to interrogate where your level of maturity comes. You have the level of maturity with the skill set and everything that you've put into your toolkit, but this interaction between two people, when you are being told no, or when you are being led to believe that you are not qualified, or that you need to wait and delay until not now. Now, sometimes a delay is necessary, but an intentional I'm procrastinating is not necessarily the best thing to do. So you have to be willing to take that risk to do that inner work. There's not necessarily a journey of therapy, but that inner work that kind of identifies what are the barriers and the blind spots that keep challenging me every time I get to this window of opportunity. And that where I become complacent and saying, I don't need to stand in my authority because my change requires change of other people. And sometimes your change, when you realize what it is that you are looking to do, you're also understanding that you are stretching wide. You're giving yourself that breathing room that not only will your mind and your actions all change, that daily divorce of self conversation will become less and less, because you will have that confidence and conviction that you need to stand in your authority. That therefore, in your conversation and your leveling up for survivor to CEO, that you are a survivor to CEO mindset. You putting everything in place, that the status, the strategy, the promotion, everything that you are seeking, that you will begin to position yourself for a different day, for a different outcome with that project, for a different opportunity. That window of opportunity will no longer be such a hard risk for you, a risk that makes you feel like, okay, you're about to lose everything. Actually, if you feel like you're ready to lose everything, and you know that your skill set is power packed with everything that you need, that's when you know you're going in the right place. Oftentimes, when we feel that, we usually protect ourselves, we defend ourselves, we slow up our pattern, because in our mind, it's going to do what we tell it to do. And if it has always protected you, that mindset, remember, everybody is not striving to be a CEO. But when you think about going at a higher level, higher vibration than where you are in your current leadership, you're surviving something. But as you survive, you are letting go. You are dropping that dead weight. You are confronting the mindset that has been poured into you and shaped you to know that you should have the authority to stand in this space. But then, are you getting the promotion? Are you getting the level of experience that you are desiring? And the question, you can only answer that question. How many times will you spend in the same cycle, in the same circle, and get a limited outcome? So it's like you have to look at what your excuses are and how it is that you procrastinate, because those are protective mechanisms when you make excuses, as well as when you're activating procrastination. Those are things that you have used to protect yourself from feeling that discouragement and that disappointment that occurred when you did that mirror check from those previous experiences. So every time that you make an excuse, every time you procrastinate a task, you are serving a lower vibration of yourself that is not helping you kind of break that glass ceiling and move ahead of where it is that you are trying to get to. So if you're really striving to get there, you have to learn how to unlearn how these excuses have protected you. You have to learn how making reasons why you need to delay whatever the task is not really serving you, because in doing that, you begin to peel back the layers where you can stand in your authority kind of unapologetically. And I'm saying kind of being nice and gentle, but you will stand in your authority. You will not have to do the mirror check. Your conversation on a daily divorce of self will begin to navigate itself, that you no longer feel like you have to protect your space, your mind, your integrity, your skill set in any particular way. And the only way to be able to do this is to be able to really authentically look at what strategies is going to help me to get that balance that I'm looking for, so that in my leadership, I can do this. I can see the trigger, I can dodge it, I can, miss it however I need to miss it, and continue to grow beyond and accept my assignment in regards to where it is that I'm supposed to be. So when you learn the strategy and then you begin to get it with balance because of the rites of passage of going through it, then you understand that you no longer need excuses, you no longer need the procrastination, and that those things don't need to kind of hold you in a holding pattern of handcuffs, because you now know how to break the code. Once you learn how to break that code of that survivor to CEO and that daily divorce of self, then you understand, as soon as you see it, you be like, I see you. I understand where it is that you are trying to block me. And I need to kind of take a moment to kind of sit in the space that I'm in, do a reevaluation and swivel, but break the code. break the glass ceiling that no longer applies to you, because now you have set your intentions, you have clarity, you have positioned yourself in such a way that you can now kind of level yourself up in a different way. So it's like when you level yourself up and you break that code, because you now know the strategy that when your triggers are in place, you break the code into your leadership. You break the code into how it is you level up. You break the code into your income, but then you also break the code into your vibrations, and being confident that your authority, yes, probably shaped from your childhood, previous previous work situations and anything like that. However, you now maintain the authority of how you're going to direct and navigate your path. So it's like you don't have to shrink for others, for the comfort of others. And once you have that strategy of breaking that code, then you can begin to leverage your experiences, leverage what it is that you know, leverage how it is that things that may have been silencing you, and being able to know your purpose and how you are the change agent in your leadership. So knowing that, you would have the competency with the leadership blueprint. You would have the competency with navigating and infusing the GPS, which is the goals, getting your clarity on your goals, planning and positioning, and then learning whatever the strategy that is personalized to your role in leadership. Then you will have your own personalized secret sauce that's going to help you understand how you activate your joy in the workplace. Because silencing your joy is not in alignment with your purpose. It's not in alignment with your voice, and it's not in alignment with how it is that you should be making or could be making decisions to better your life. And we don't recognize the residue that takes that discipline of us consistently just stepping into what it is that we need to unlearn, what it is that we need to kind of reframe, and then have that transformation conversation that can really start from a strategy, opportunity, that just kind of doing the blueprint, laying all the things out, and then prioritizing where is it that you need to change and what support do you need to have doing that. Is it side by side support where you're growing with people, but then someone who has the gatekeeping, which is you, with the support that you can be able to grow away from people, ahead of people, and definitely beyond where they are, because you would no longer be intimidated around the fact that if your change is going to require somebody else to change, it's only impacting you to be at your ambition level and higher, so that you can change the programming of how it is that you're going to be in your role of leadership, no matter what your title is. And so that is my nugget for you for today. And standing in your authority, making sure that when you are doing a mirror check, or when you are experiencing, you would do the mirror check because you recognize that you're experiencing a trigger, but you're not sitting in that disappointment and allowing that disappointment to kind of just drive your path. You are understanding that the disappointment and discouragement has a purpose. And so allow it to have its purpose, understand what you need to understand from it, snatch away what is unnecessary. If you're carrying dead weight, you cannot be the bag lady walking down the street with all of these different concerns. You can't walk into the conference room meeting with all of these unresolved concerns. That is not serving you well. And it's not serving you as a leader in order to level up. If you are not in the right mindset, in the right place with the discipline to execute, how can you ensure that others are going to get there as well? And so I would love to be the leadership strategist that is able to guide and support you and be able to help you navigate through this journey. And so if you find that this might be you, or that you may benefit, why don't you just grab your calendar right now while you are listening, before this nugget closes out, and say, you know what, this week is going to be the week that I'm going to reach out and get my breakthrough strategy session, because I have been tuning in, listening to replays, listening to, the different things. And I no longer want to hide behind the curtain, because the mask that you wear only holds you in a holding pattern of wishing and dreaming about an opportunity that's laying right before you that could be yours. So I thank you for joining another Leadership Nugget Tuesday morning cup of coffee with me, Mary May. And I look forward to seeing you next week and having a breakthrough. And if I see you on my calendar, I'd be even more excited to kind of walk you through what that can look like for you. In the meanwhile, you have a successful day, a wonderful week. And remember at the end of the week to check your wins, not your losses. At the end of the day, check your wins, not your losses. Plan tomorrow today. So then that way, when you wake up, you don't hit the snooze button, that you keep on moving. You just keep on moving and keep on making things happen. So thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.